Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you and welcome to Tibetan Buddhist Society of Canberra. Um, we have started to change the schedule of teaching on Tuesdays on Thursday evenings in order to fit in well so that the Tuesday night class are not back to back. So that's why we are doing on Thursdays from this term onwards. And thank you for joining me. And before the start of the teaching, I would like to play a recording of chanting of Heart Sutra in Sanskrit, chanted by a group of nuns from the Sakya College in India. So it is very traditional in Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism, always to have the Heart Sutra chanting among other chantings or just by Heart Sutra. So I would like to play the audio. You can please either sit and listen and meditate on it or do other prayers such as refuge and four immeasurables while this is going on. So this is what we're going to start with for a good 10 to bit over 10 minutes. So please see the very nice chanting of the Sanskrit by a group of Sakya nuns. This was recorded during the convocation and graduation of the senior nuns getting Lopun degree. So it has. We are playing this audio, but you can actually watch it on YouTube in the future with the subtitles of the Sanskrit and learn to chant, which is a very good thing to do. So we will start with that. Thank you very much.
Research suggests krill oil relieves knee pain and stiffness in mild to moderate osteoarthritis. Unlock the potential of Swiss.
Zimmalate?
Fresh, natural Zimmel. The easy to digest milk.
So thank you everyone. That's the chanting of the Heart Sutra, which is always done at the beginning of teachings in order to enable us to develop a good comprehension of the teachings and blessings of the very profound contents of the Heart Sutra. Well, this term, our topic is the three qualities of the triple gem, which I thought would be very important to the wide network of people who are interested in learning Dharma instead of going through a very complicated text book, but I will rather draw all these teachings from the Sutra and Shastra and therefore highlight the importance of refuge and the qualities of the triple gem, which are basically the very thing that makes Buddhism so precious, is because of how people truly find, if they ever find it, how much a medicine, how much blessings that they find through the qualities of three jewels. I will draw my information largely through the sutras as well as through the Shastra, as I mentioned. With today's topic, I will mainly focus on the very etymology of the three jewels, which in Sanskrit is called Tri Ratna. So Tri Ratna, and this the Sanskrit word Ratna is considered to be means precious one. Also, we can call it the three precious jewels, and it has been likened. The three jewels has been likened to gem, because gem is not easily found, very rare to find. And not only the jewels are rare to find, but once it is found, it has immaculate benefit. It has a lot of value, and one who have jewels, usually rich people. So likewise, people who are able to find refuge, their life becomes completely meaningful. Prior to that, they will feel impoverished. They feel poor. They may have this, they may have that, they may have position, they may have relationship, they might have all the worldly things, but they still feel very powerless. But once they find the refuge, and then it has incredible power and immaculate power. This is not the kind of ordinary comparable power you're talking about, but it gives the incredible power, and it has it makes themselves to be free of the defilements and obscuration and a negative emotion that previously they used to suffer. Once they have found a refuge, and they become less and less subjected to the karma and afflictions, they are able to slowly allay those things. Just like a person who's owner of a precious gem or jewelries, even if there's poverty in the country, they can sell the precious gems and be able to alleviate their hunger and thirst and whatnot. Whereas others are completely have nothing. So it's like a most valuable and immaculate possession. Immaculate possession. And as a result of the gem is also highly treasured. Gem is not highly treasured by some, and not by others. It's everybody treasures it. So therefore, anybody who really finds the refuge, doesn't matter what race, religion, background, or whatever they come from, everybody becomes so much saner and kinder and wiser and more thoughtful and more patient, more compassionate, more tolerant, more accepting of difficulties, because they are greatly benefited by the gems, and the one who has these possessions usually becomes the ornament. It's just like a beautiful ornament. Like precious jewels are not only precious, but they're also highly regarded ornaments to wear on special occasions. And so likewise, those people who have refuge, they will be greatly, ornamented, beautified. Their life is beautiful because they have refuge in the triple gem. Everything else may fail them, but their refuge completely covers them. Their refuge completely gives them peace of mind. And whereas everybody looks very, very unbeautiful or not so beautiful because they don't have kindness, they don't have humility, they don't have tolerance, they cannot practice compassion. But one who has refuge is beautified by being able to do the very most valuable human qualities, the dignity, is made manifest in the person, like a beautiful ornament. When you put on a beautiful ornament, your body looks beautiful. Likewise, when a person remembers and turns to refuge, to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, their life becomes completely beautiful, because otherwise it's like pretty plain and bare. But those who have refuge in the Triple Gem, their life becomes so much more ornamented. Even in times of sickness and death and crisis, everything seems so meaningless. But one who has refuge knows how to pull them through and make the difficulties as a very cause for them to renounce the very things, and so they come out as a very beautifully ornamented. And it is once they have this. Another thing about the precious gem is the precious gems. Its values is always unchangingly precious. It isn't that the value of them will go down dramatically. The value of those precious jewels will always go up. Always higher than before. Like say 10 years ago, how much it was now. So that there is no time that the qualities of the refuge and their practical and benefit, the wisdom that you practice with due to the refuge will never become outdated. But it becomes even more valider. The more the world becomes degenerate, more crisis that your life is met with, the more valuable the refuge becomes. And because it never changes its value, like the precious gem, it's always precious. And so therefore it is the most sublime, most sacred thing to possess. So these six qualities, after which in the Uttara-tantra it talks about these six reasons why Triple Gem is named after a gem. Why? The gem is firstly Buddha gem. Firstly, it's very, very rare. They say the coming of the Buddha, it is said, only occurs during light eon. But light eon means fortunate eon. But every light eon only happens after hundreds of dark eons. Only after many passage of dark eons does a Buddha appear. So it's very, very rare. It's just like a very rare to find gem. And a Buddha gem you cannot mine underground. You cannot mine under oceans. You can't. Buddha gem is not some local object that is hidden under a place and you have to cite it. Buddha gem is more rarer than any of the gems in the whole world, because any of these gems you can find anywhere in the world if you just give some time. But a Buddha gem does not occur unless the collective karma and merit of all sentient beings appears or matching, then only a Buddha appears. Even should a Buddha appear in a bright eon, those who find a refuge in the Buddha are only those precious people who have precious human rebirth. And not only just mere precious human rebirth, but those who knowingly knows the value of the refuge in the Buddha. Those who know the Buddha are even rarer. Maybe it is like this is an eon when the Buddha has come. But the number of people who have refuge in the Triple Gem is very, very rare. If you look in the census here in Australia, there are like 23 million people, but barely 3% of these people are willing to tick the box, say they are Buddhist. But how many of them are Buddhist? Most of them are cultural Buddhists. They're only Buddhists because they're born and brought up by family, and they do certain Buddhist cultural things, such as burn joss sticks and do prayers when somebody dies, and maybe occasionally become vegetarian and occasionally go to temple and that sort of thing. But those people who actually have refuge and have really heard teaching, studied the Dharma, have met the actual living Sangha, very rare to meet a living Sangha, Even if you have Sangha, people worship the Sangha, but they don't understand the Dharma. They really don't have refuge in the Dharma. They just have the culture allegiance to their monastics. The Theravadins seem to go to their monks, and if they don't go to the others, because their refuge is to their cultural kind of adherence to it, cultural Buddhism. But those who have true refuge are very few, because even those who have actually think they have taken refuge, they're more biased to their little schools, their little groups. And they can't afford to go to other schools, other traditions, because they don't really have refuge in the Dharma. They have refuge only in their little groups, So those who have refuge in the Triple Gem is very rare. Firstly, coming of the Buddha is rare. Secondly, the Buddha who comes to the world giving the teaching is very, very rare. And even if he gives the teachings, the consistency how the teaching continues in the world is very, very rare. So I'm here defining the first of the six reasons why Triple Gem is rare. The first one is rarity. It's so rare, not only the Buddha is rare, but the Buddha giving teaching and people hearing and understanding and finding refuge in the teaching is very rare. Most people are worshipping the Buddha as the Buddha will heal them. They actually have no refuge in the Dharma. Those who actually truly know the gemness of the Dharma, and particularly not just the scriptural Dharma, but realization through study, meditation, and discipline, those who actually know the Dharma very well and have refuge in the Dharma in times of crisis. They're only doing the Dharma from once a day or once every now and then in the groups and so on, cultural kind of calendar. But the actual every day, when they have some difficulties, they hardly take refuge in the Triple Gem. They take refuge in retaliation, tit for tat, and they are not practicing peace or compassion or tolerance when they're meant to be. How many people actually turn to Dharma in times of crisis, even if they are so-called Buddhist? Most people are seeking in Buddhism some kind of healing or some kind of intervention by the holy Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, their blessings, so that their suffering become allayed by the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. That's not really refuge. Real refuge is realization of your own having ability to understand the Dharma, and not just the scriptural Dharma, but actually the realization of Dharma. That you yourself change your mind from the affliction and karmic predisposition, and then actually do the Dharma, do the actual refuge, actually turn to the Dharma, to renounce your negative thoughts, to renounce your afflicted mind, and not seek some kind of intervention Buddha to come and allay and remove your sufferings. So most people's attitude towards the Buddha and the Triple Gem is very mundane and very theistic. It's not an authentic refuge. So it's just like a person who knows it's going to rain. They take the umbrella, because so they want to protect it from the umbrella, So that's a mundane, just mundane refuge. But very ordinary people. Ordinary people also learn to take shelter when it rains, So we're not talking about ordinary, mundane, worldly refuge here. We're talking about taking refuge in a kind of super-mundane, enlightened, transcendental practice. Ordinary people also, when they face some difficulties, they take refuge in the people who are powerful, so authorities, And sometimes they don't know who they can turn to, who can really make them a difference. They find it really difficult to find an authority who will help, So even to allay some mundane worldly problems, people take refuge in those people who are more powerful or more who have great sense of authority. And while others take refuge in the worldly gods, they turn to God when they face difficulties. But has the God ever intervened theirs? And even turning refuge in the Buddha said, I do not wash your sins with holy water. Or he said, you have to purify your mind. And so therefore, those who actually have refuge and try to purify their mind is very few. Those who resort to purify their karma through rituals and through prayers, through the power of some other practitioners like holy Sangha or great masters, are much more Buddhists. More Buddhists are always looking for the prayers of somebody else and blessings of somebody else to actually remedy the problems. Those who actually turn to refuge to the purification of their own mind are very, very rare. So that's what I meant by very rare. Buddha is so rare to come. For us to actually have refuge in the Buddha is even rarer. Even much more rarer is to take refuge in the Dharma. Most people bow down to the Buddha, offer flowers to the Buddha. But the real bow down to the Buddha is practicing his teachings. So therefore, people who bow down to shrines and statues and that are many such Buddhists. But those who really are surrendering to the Dharma, which is the realization of Dharma, to take refuge is very, very rare. So the rarity is not just rarity of the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha, but even those who take refuge authentically in the Triple Gem are fewer. And also the reason for that is the sentient beings who go for refuge, they need to have three causes for going for refuge. Like they need to have genuine renunciation to go for refuge. But most people their renunciation is very, very temporary. Their renunciation is very, very temporary. So certain mundane problems, then they call for the Triple Gem. They are really not taking refuge with the fear of self-grasping, fear of afflictions. They're only taking refuge, fear of this and that, mundane problems, so they're taking refuge in the Triple Gem. When they get sick, maybe they take refuge. When they have certain difficulties, they may take refuge. But those are really not really ideal refuge. Ideal refuge is one who fears the consequences in the next life and rebirth in samsara, and therefore taking refuge in the Triple Gem with a strong renunciation from the grasping to the self and wrong views, and therefore taking refuge in the Triple Gem. Even causally, the fear with which people take refuge is very, very shallow. So that's why it's very rare. Not only the three gems are rare to find, but those who go and find the gems and take proper refuge with the proper fear of self-cherishing. That would be the hardest thing. It's very rare for people take refuge because they are taking refuge out of self-cherishing. They're taking refuge because they have some mundane physical, emotional problem in this life, and they want to remedy them by the taking refuge, which is still possible. Which is not. I'm not saying it's not possible, but likelihood of the external Triple Gem coming into the aid of us to remove our fear by their holy presence is more or less likely. So that shows that even the cause of refuge, fear, is very rare for people to have a really authentic fear. The fear of selfishness, fear of self-grasping, fear of one's own affliction and selfishness. Very few people are taking refuge. So ideally, you can see the authentic fear for going for refuge, what we call positive fear, merely fearing the kind of bad rebirth and low rebirth. This is considered to be inferior mentality with which one is taking refuge. So if a person thinks that's the only thing that is valid that they can take refuge, some people definitely practice Dharma in fear of a very bad rebirth. A lot of Buddhists are like that culture. They really want to practice Dharma so that they are not born in lower rebirth. So they are mainly fearful of the lower rebirth. So you can see But the majority of people don't even do that. They wanted to do some dharma so that these lives of difficulties and obstacles are allayed, and they live long, and they have a lot of money and wealth. So the fear of renunciation from the lower realms and samsara is not there anymore. For them, it's a mundane reason for going for refuge. So so you can see why rare, even causally, the cause to go for refuge, fear, is not very difficult for most people to have the emotional intelligence to go for refuge in the Triple Gem and do meditation or do prayer or practices with that understanding. And then, from the point of view of faith, how many people actually know, how many people actually have genuine faith in the Triple Gem by knowing their qualities? Most people don't, because they don't know who the Triple Gems are, what their qualities are. Because they don't know the qualities, they cannot have a real faith. Their faith is a blind faith. They're mainly having faith out of cultural kind of bias. So you just follow this group because you can culturally relate to that, and so you have your faith in your language, your ethnic way of chanting the refuge, your ethnic way of celebrating Buddhist kind of celebration. You only do that. So that shows that your faith is only in your attachment to your culture and language. But how many among those Buddhists actually have faith in the three gems, and therefore, without any bias against other Buddhist group, is happily go and sit with them and join? Most people are very, very blinkered in terms of they will never go to other groups. They almost have been warned by their people not to go to other groups. This is not refuge. This is completely creating boundaries. And so those who have actual faith in the Triple Gem is very few. Those who have faith and blind faith in their culture, in their ethnicity, in their form of Buddhism, that is not a true refuge. So faith is, so there's no genuine faith. They don't know the Buddha, they don't know the Dharma, they don't know. They're only attached to their culture, entity, and identity. So their faith with that is very rare. Their faith in that is not valid cause of refuge. A valid cause of refuge is faith in knowing the qualities of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha is not associated with one culture or one ethnicity or one language for that matter. So that's why lots of Buddhists are totally engrossed in their culture of trapping of Buddhism. They don't realize Buddha has taught many sentient beings in many different languages, many different levels of teachings, Sutra to Ved things. They don't have the pure faith in the Buddha's incredible vision and ability to reach and outreach to all sentient beings. They only can interpret their version of Buddhism into their language and their culture. So therefore you can see that even faith to have refuge in the Triple Gem is very rare. There's no real faith. I'm not saying there aren't people who have genuine faith in Triple Gem. I'm pretty sure there are. And I myself is used to be among them, always attached to my culture form of school or Buddhism, and I'm more attached to that version. So that's not a faith. That's not faith. That's just attachment. That's just culture affiliation. Actual people who go for refuge in the Triple Gem, because of the qualities of the Buddha, they know Dharma, they know Sangha, they know. So they have a lucid faith in the Triple Gem, and they have aspirational faith in the actual Triple Gem, and they have actually experienced how valid the three Triple Gems are as a refuge, are very, very few. So rare. Most people's faith are very shallow. If something goes well, they are coming along very well. If small things doesn't work, they quickly snap off, they disappear. So you can see, there is very few people who actually have cause for refuge. They could not find refuge because they don't have emotional cause for going for refuge. They need faith, but they don't. They have doubt. They have indecision. they have contradiction, they have criticism about the objects of refuge. So how could they find refuge? So emotionally, most people have very little merit to actually have refuge in the Triple Gem. Their faith is blind faith. Their faith is tainted by culture attachment. But I'm not saying there aren't people who have faith in the Triple Gem, but there are, but very, very few. Rare, just as rare as the gem itself, you know. You know, how many people have lots of precious gems? Not only the gems are rare, but those who have are even rarer, you know. It's only few people have those precious gems, you know. Like I don't have any diamond, for instance. Like I don't have any of those very expensive gems. Maybe my friends and others also don't have, you know. It's just like that, you know. Most people don't have the faith. They have other things. So like that, most people actually have attachment to their cultural version of Buddhism, their language in which the Buddhism is chanted. That's what I wanted to introduce, chanting these kind of prayers like Sanskrit Heart Sutra. Next week we will chant something else. And so that we want to open our mind that Buddha had taught the teaching to right across the whole world, to so many civilizations, last 26 centuries. So we shouldn't be so narrowed into our way of version of Buddhism. So that's why refuge in the Triple Gem is very rare. Not only Buddha is rare to come, not only Dharma is very profound and deep and very difficult to practice, even if you understand them. Those who realize this is very rare. Not only Sangha, who are actually fully realized, are very rare and rare to meet them, but those who actually try to find refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha are also that much rarer. They don't seem to have the right faith. Their faith is completely camouflaged with attachment. But if you have a genuine faith in the Triple Gem, then it will have all these qualities, immaculate. Then you will find, you can go to a Korean temple and sit with the Korean temple, and you have no difficulty. You just feel delighted. You become so much blissful because you have such a pure faith in the Triple Gem. And so for you to see them do the prayers and chanting in the way they do is just as inspiring as you know your way. You know, maybe you can't chant them because they're doing in Korean. Maybe you can't do them because they are doing in Bengali or in Polish. But nevertheless, you're completely with everyone because you know that even their language is so different, but the way they do it is just, it brings back enlivens your faith because you really have the gem of true refuge in the Triple Gem. So you don't feel yourself is out of place. You don't feel not fitting well with that situation. So that's why it's very important for people to ourselves, you know, everyone here. I would like to give yourself a challenge. How genuine is your faith in the Triple Gem? Are you attached to cultural version of your form of Buddhism, or do you really have refuge in the Triple Gem? So much so that your faith is enlivened by any fellow practitioners practicing Dharma. You're able to believe in them, respect them, and honor their language, honor their culture, honor their way of doing things. And thus your mind is clearly admiring the faith and devotion, how they practice in their culture and language. So, and so that you actually have this even more aspiration to have this kind of broad-mindedness to be able to embrace all fellow Buddhists and their groups and practice and go with them and rejoice them, instead of thinking, I don't have my own Sangha, you know. People say that, you know. Even they are Tibetan Buddhists, you know. And they have centers there. They say, oh, I have no Sangha at all. You see, they don't have refuge in the Sangha. They have refuge in their little groups, you know. They just attach to half a dozen people, and then with other groups that might be just only a couple of miles away or another temple, they don't feel connected. Why? They don't have that actual cause of refuge, which is faith, is not there. Very rare, like gem. their reason is they are only small groups of people with whom they have few things they can agree with. And if they don't have that, they don't feel they have Sangha. Remember, there's so many people who are, like even a small town like here where I live in Canberra, there at least are about 7,000 Buddhists, out of nearly 500,000. So that's barely 3%. So instead of, if one has a need to go to a Buddhist temple, go to any one of them. You don't have to feel my Sangha. That's not refuge object is very, very precious to everywhere. So therefore, if you have the pure perception, have faith in the Triple Gem, you will not feel lacking objects and group that will inspire you, because your faith is in the Triple Gem, not in your brand of group or culture. Because this is very important to remember. How most people's faith in the Dharma is very, very doubting, always sitting on the fence. Because they have benefit of doubt, you see. They think having a doubt is a very healthy thing. But how long they're going to live on doubt and never practice faith? Most people are falling off the fence because they are always leaning onto the doubt, never on the faith. To go for refuge, it's not only refuge objects are difficult to find like a gem, the cause for going for refuge is even more harder to find, that genuine faith. There's people who think they can practice Buddhism without faith and belief, for instance. That shows how rare number of Buddhists will not increase. Why? Gem has never increased. The garbage. Gem has never become much more higher number than the garbage. The gem is always rare. So the good are few. And those who have genuine refuge in the Triple Gem are very, very few. And that shows how quickly their faith snaps. When small difficulty happens, their faith has disappeared. If one person poisons your little mind, little bit about something or you completely lose faith in that. Some people actually deliberately do that, cause schism, cause slander, and your faith is completely snaps. Why? Because your faith is, you're relying on person. You're not relying on the Triple Gem as a refuge object. You're worshipping deluded people who has karma and affliction. Deluded people are not rare. There are many. Buddha never said deluded people are objects of refuge. So that's why when one is taking refuge in the form or charisma or status or reputation or someone, you don't have refuge in the Triple Gem. Why? It's very rare to have real refuge. Not only refuge, objects are very rare, but those who have refuge are even rarer. At least for refuge object is not going to sort of decrease the number, but those whose faith is tested usually turns out to be lacking completely. It's all about attachment. They never had faith in the Triple Gem. If you have faith in Triple Gem, it says you have to be kind to sentient beings, for instance. So one who has a refuge in the Triple Gem, one who has faith in the Dharma, should put their faith in the Dharma and not give in to these negativities. So that's why cause for going for refuge, faith is so rare. Most people's faith is attachment. And even if that attachment tested, and that also snaps, they don't have even attachment. And then it turns aversion. Because their friendship with you is not faith, but attachment. So usually attachment turns to aversion. That's a very, very next easiest thing is attachment turned to aversion. Why do people have aversion? If they have refuge in the Triple Gem, they don't have aversion to Dharma. If they truly have faith in the Dharma, they will never have their cause of faith being in tatters. So cause for faith, refuge is faith, and the faith in the qualities of the Buddha and qualities of Dharma, quality of Sangha, most people don't know. So that's why I want to focus this term, talking about in depth, what are the qualities of the Buddha, what are the qualities of Dharma, what are the qualities of Sangha, so that we have lucid faith and aspiration faith and maybe even realization faith about the triple gem. So it's most people don't actually hear the fundamental qualities of the triple gem. Not only it is very rare, but it's very, very difficult to know and comprehend the refuge object and their qualities. Even more difficult it is for oneself to emotionally have the right renunciation, for instance. One doesn't have fear. One doesn't have one has fear, but very, very kind of a mundane fear. Fear of insecurity and fear of sickness, and even you will get sick. What's the point of getting afraid? You're subject to get sick. You're afraid of death, afraid of illness. These are, even Dharma can't stop any of this. These are not. So most people's reason for going for refuge is very, very mundane. So those who have genuine faith in the triple gem and the faith that Dharma can uproot the true cause of suffering, true origin of suffering, bring true cessation of suffering, and by following the correct path is very, very rare. So that's why you can see how emotional cause for going and finding refuge in the triple gem, the renunciation is, for most people, don't have renunciation. They have only mundane fear of water, or flood, or sickness, and rain, and poverty, and sickness, and so on. People and obstacles and demons and things like that. It's very, very ordinary. You don't need Buddhism for that. And then people also fear this life's insecurity, and Dharma is no guarantee for that. Dharma will never satisfy, fulfill your holes in your life. Dharma will show there's more holes than you think your life has. So Dharma is not a patching up your worldly, your mundane life's unsatisfactory thing. It will never go and satisfy. Dharma will not Dharma will not compensate your life's unsatisfactoriness. Because life's unsatisfaction is caused by one's own affliction and action, and unless those causes of the sufferings are terminated by one's actual mature practice of Dharma, even refuge in the Dharma cannot allay your karma and defilements. So even the karma and defilements cannot ultimately removed by Dharma, only by your practicing of it. If you practice the Dharma, then you will realize, oh, it's my doing of the practice, my changing of the attitude, that is refuge. So the refuge is an act that we have to do rather than seeking of someone who rescues us. We're not seeking rescuer, neither in the Buddha. Buddha never said he will rescue us, neither by his holy water or his appearings and the image talking to you. Also, lots of people are very theistically looking at the statues talking to you, appearing in the dream. This kind of mystical, over mystified form of Buddhism is not going to be last long. In genuine Buddhism, these things are never promoted. Buddha appearing in your dream, or and this sort of try to mystify. You have to demystify Buddhism. Buddhism is about how to see your own mind and how to purify your mind through the aid and guidance of the teachings of the Dharma, which is even much more rarer than gems for people to get it. Even they have been studying Dharma for years, they're only studying the definition concepts only on theoretical, dialectical level. This is just intellectual level. That's only in the head. The real Dharma is to try to bring the understanding of the Dharma to your heart and mind, and then change and purify those thoughts, and then find yourself, renounce your bad ways, your wrong views, and then you realize how much safer you are. You no longer are doing the ill will, you're no longer doing the wrong view, you're no longer doing covetousness, you're no longer doing kind of malice and resentment And then you see the gem. Now the gem is really, this gem is the gem in you, that you will actually discover this more very difficult to find gem, but yet you have found it. You will see you do not fall and collapse with the difficulties of life. Those difficulties of life is inevitable, and you do not sort of fall with them. You will accept them with grace and dignity and humility, and accept all share of your sufferings, all your karma, all your flaws. Whether people point you or not, you will accept your flaws quite humbly and quite humble. It will humble you, and you do not have any aggression with your karma, and you have no aggression to your suffering, because it says that the second qualities of the gem is that it removes you, it washes your stains. Dharma is a refuge. It washes your stains of the thoughts and your mind and afflictions. So because first is rare, second is it makes you become immaculately clean, because it washes you of your stains. You don't have any dirt stuck on your hands, because Dharma helps you to wash them. You have to wash and purify your mind. So those who feel they have taken refuge and they are helping to purify their mind, how many are there? They realize how much washing they have to do, how much purification they have to do. And the more they purify, more grateful they are of the washing and benefit of the washing that they experience. They feel really, purer than before. Which means they notice their own flaws more readily than before. And because they are washing constantly, they are always noticing how dirty you are. And you do not have time to look at how dirty and flawed and mistaken and wrong people are. You don't have any of that time left. That is the time before you found refuge. Before you found refuge, you always were wagging your little finger to point others. But once you have found a refuge, you don't do that. How many of that? Very rare. So that's why refuge is very, very precious. When you have refuge, you no longer will do the tarnishing or dirtying yourself. You are washing yourself. You are becoming much more immaculate. You have really discovered a new, rare, good friend in you, who is now so washed, so clean, and so continue to stay, wanting to stay clean. And now, once you are the person who have found a refuge, you are now powerful. You have the power not to suffer. you have the power not to suffer because you have refuge. Third of the six qualities of the gem is that you have the power not to suffer destitution. Yeah, you have the power to possess the power not to feel malnourished, not to feel impoverished, not to feel destitute. You have love, you have kindness, you have compassion, you have loving kindness, you have understanding of Dharma, you understand impermanence of things. Because of that power, it enables you to let go. You have the power to not to stay stuck, not to stay poor me or poor mine. You no longer do that. You have now power. You possess the power. Dharma is a third quality that the Asanga talks about in the Uttara-tantra of the gem. Gem is very powerful. It can alleviate your hunger and destitution. Likewise, you no longer are crying and howling. You actually have the dignity and humility and renunciation and tolerance, because you are no longer impoverished by anger or resentment. You have an infinite loving kindness. And so therefore, when you have refuge, you actually have the power to not to suffer. You have the power to endure suffering for what's worth, temporarily. You do not have this powerlessness to deal with suffering. You feel completely completely adequately ready. When you have the umbrella, when it rains, you don't feel like crying. You quickly open the umbrella in style. When everybody's drenched in river or water, you're not, because you have the umbrella. Like that, you have the power not to suffer. You don't say I suffer because of what he did this. You say, I suffer because I have no refuge. This is your attitude, Incredible, really. You're suffering not because what people did to you or said to you, but because you don't have refuge. But when you have refuge, no matter what people do, doesn't have much negative consequences, because you have the remedy. You open the umbrella as soon as it rains. So you practice compassion. You practice understanding. You practice taking of the sufferings. If the people appear to be doing the suffering, you accept the sufferings. When you accept the suffering, suffering doesn't persist. Suffering is exterminated, because you have the power. You have the power of one who has refuge. The gem is so powerful because it makes you feel not destitute, but instead you are rich with power of the wealth of the gem. The gem itself is valued for. Gem is valuable. Yeah, if you have comprehension through meditation and discipline and a study of Dharma, you have the power not to need to go to some other deluded people to give you some advice. Most of the people who can give you advice, maybe they have a little bit of professional training, but they don't have any gem of Dharma. What kind of advice they can give it to you? They probably will massage your ego as you are a little bit mistreated by others. How dare you let them do this? I can help you. Made you feel more victim than you actually are. That's not empowering you. That's actually making yourself become even more victimized. But Dharma says that that gives you the power to practice tolerance. This is my past life's mother. This is the very karma and tricks that I have created myself in the past. Now it is coming through this person as the messenger. I'm the one who sent the message, and he's delivering me. So you have the power to think like that, to accept your suffering, to renounce your pride, and to practice the Dharma. Why? It's so rare people who do that. But you might be the few person who has the refuge. Then you can see the quality of refuge, that you actually have the power not to suffer as much as before, because you have right fear, right faith, and you have compassion for yourself. Most people don't have compassion. They have intolerance. When they suffer, they understand the suffering, and their compassion is the cause for going for refuge. Most people's compassion is just a very shallow one, Compassion without wisdom. But that's why to go for refuge, you need to have not only your cause for going for refuge, the compassion for all sentient beings is very, 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 very thin. For most people, have no compassion to sentient beings. They are going for refuge just for themselves, So, if you do have the very rare gem of compassion as a moral cause, emotional cause for going for refuge and finding refuge, the triple gem, then you will notice how quickly you have the not only fear of right renunciation, you have faith in the qualities of the triple gem, so we will be able to elaborate the actual qualities of the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, in the following teaching sessions. And so, in this session, I'm simply elaborating on the six qualities of gems, 6 qualities of gem. First is the rarity. Second is the immaculate purity, that how much washing it does. Third is the power, and the fourth is the ornament, how beautiful it is. Your life is beautiful. No matter how many things you may be very, very miserable or difficult, but your life is so many ways more beautiful, because you have refuge in the triple gem. Your hardships in samsara, your sort of difficulties in your life has actually made you to find a very beautiful gem, the ornament. Now, when you have the Buddha gem, Dharma gem, Sangha gem, and yourself have the fear, faith, and compassion to go for refuge, then this becomes now beautiful. Every day you look at the world, you have this incredible mind that understands the seals of the Dharma, how all conditioned things are impermanent, how all sufferings are caused by one's own afflictions. And so when you know that, it totally makes you to not to become afflicted, because all unsatisfactory things come from our afflictions. And when you have refuge, and you know the house of suffering don't exist from its own side, nor are sufferings permanent. Why? Because sufferings are impermanent, like all conditioned things are. All sufferings are caused by affliction, and you know your suffering is not caused by people. Your suffering is not caused by him or her or them. Your suffering is caused by your affliction, primarily speaking. Of course, it's interdependent on many other factors, but primarily it's your affliction. So when you have the fitness to think like that, you no longer are moaning and groaning and reacting and overreacting to the world out there. You are actually learning to wash yourself through the knowledge of the Dharma. And then, as a result of you having a refuge in the triple gem, the fifth quality is that that you feel excellent. You feel excellent. We call refuge excellent. Excellent. You feel excellent because you have a triple refuge in the triple gem. It doesn't matter what aspect of your life goes up and down. You do not have this nagging mind. How dare? Why should my life be like that? Life is a pain and a nag. You don't have this any negativities. You feel completely sublime, because Dharma, when it comes to the Dharma, when you apply the Dharma, there is not a single problem in the world that are not transformed into incredibly soothing, healing signs. So you feel healed and sublime by having that triple gem. By having the refuge in the Buddha, you no longer are seeking any worldly intervention. By seeking refuge in the Dharma, you're not seeking in the some kind of a remedy from the text. You have to realize them. You have to come to understand them. So therefore you are totally competently relying on the refuge in the triple gem. And these gems are not a kind of external things, but your conventional way of practicing, like religiously practicing the refuge with the prostration, with the physically doing it, verbally reciting it, not just once or twice, but repeat them many, many times. And you will have the incredible commitment to do the refuge as your practice. Refuge is your practice. Refuge and prostration, there are many, many Buddhist practices that you can actually incorporate. Then those very habit transforming conduct of the Dharma empowers you to actually engage very, very systematically and very, very constructively in having the refuge. And this, the value and the high regard that you have towards the triple gem is sixth one, unchanging. Like the value of the gems is unchanging. If it changes at all, value will increase. Likewise, you never lose your awe and inspiration of the qualities of the triple gem. That's why we say the inconceivable are the qualities of Buddha. Wait until the inconceivable qualities of Dharma, and quality of Sangha, and including the qualities of your realizing of the Dharma. If you study Dharma, if you think, wow, wait until you realize them. Wait until you realize them, and wait until you apply them to heal the source and problems that you only allow. You will see how incredibly valid the objects of refuge is. So the objects of refuge is, of course, very, very rare. Buddha gem, Dharma gem, Sangha gem. But those who actually comprehend the refuge object and have refuge are even rarer. Like you can see Buddha images so many places. Like almost, I could probably guarantee that almost everyone in the 10 houses would have a Buddha image. Whether they have found it as a as a Buddhist or not. Some of them have them as a god, something to put in the garden. Others just put in the home decoration. You can see the Buddha image everywhere. And Buddhist books are called. But those who actually know Buddha and his qualities, those who actually have refuge in the teachings, is actually even rarer. Among those who think they have refuge, among those who say, yes, I want to take refuge, and actually have refuge in the Triple Gem, how many actually know what the refuge objects are? I have heard that people jokingly say in the Himalayas, where their understanding of Dharma is not that great, but culture is very strong. When they ask the name of the Triple Gem, they're listing some so very weird object, very weird things. There's nothing to do with Buddhism, but they're listing them as objects of refuge. They think that's the Triple Gem. So those who know the refuge object are fewer than those who actually have refuge. Among those who have refuge, those people who have refuge are mainly taking taking as a bias towards their culture and form of Buddhism they practice. So best way to know this is what are the actual universal qualities of the Buddha that is so rare, that is so immaculate, that has so much power. Whoever knows the Buddha, that they are starting to gain some incredible force. And those who actually know the Buddha as a refuge object, how much does the Buddha beautify their life like an ornament of a jewel that you become possessor of? And how much refuge that you have makes a very sublime difference to your life, And how much, ever since, from the first day till 2, 20, 30, 50, many days, months, years later, how much more valid the refuge is becoming. So when you notice these things, then you grow with your maturity of how valid the objects of refuge are, and then not only the refuge object is more precious, but your own regard for the refuge object and rejoicing and joining your hands doing the refuge itself becomes an authentic practice. It is profoundly Buddhism with belief practice. People who don't have refuge in the Triple Gem, who are only reading some books and philosophizing and just learning about the intellectual stimulus it gives or philosophical understanding they have, but actually they have no intention practice as a spiritual tradition, they have no refuge. So why? It's very rare to find refuge. So it's not their fault, It's very, very rare that so many people are so wealthy, Wealthy is a few, Poor are many. Likewise, those who have refuge is very few. Those who haven't got the refuge and still languishing, poor me mentality of so many people. So even among those people who genuinely believe they have refuge in the Triple Gem, if you ask them if they know the qualities of the Triple Gem and what they are and how do they relate to, it's even fewer of them know. Why? Because people are failing to firstly introduce who the Buddha is. Buddha said those who are interested to me should go and visit the places. In those days it was thousands of miles away. These days it's just within 20 hours you can reach there. You can travel them. You quickly see them. So therefore they need to know the Buddha. They need to know what makes a Buddha to become enlightened. Is it possible that anyone can become enlightened? It's good to know that, because they think there is some kind of a Buddha is just a finite number of things and nobody can gain Buddhahood. It's not. Buddhahood is not reserved. Buddhahood is a potential that everyone has. We all have Buddha nature. It's good to know that. Very few people know that we can become Buddha. And all Buddhists are striving to practice to attain Buddhahood. Just like the Shakyamuni Buddha was. Shakyamuni Buddha was not originally a Buddha. He was a king. He was a husband. He was an archer. He was a wrestler. He was a whatever. He was just like anybody else. But when he discovered what potential that lie in us, and took on because those who renounce their palace and the wealth is very rare. So Buddha himself to become a historical Buddha, it's very rare. Most people don't understand why he did the way he did, because it's so rare. It's so rare to find somebody who will give up everything he has and go and sit under a tree and seek truth or enlightenment. How many people have done that? Very few. Why? Because it's so rare to one who is able to do that. But when he not only did that because it's rare, but he did that in a gallant way, very impressive way. He became enlightened within 6 years after he left the home. He never looked back ever since he stepped his feet on the path to seek enlightenment. And not only that, Buddha, after him, he did what he did as a historical Buddha, and then he dedicated his enlightenment. He taught this for the next 45 years. Next 45 years he gave the Dharma, and who is so committed? Who is so committed to not only his enlightenment, but to give enlightenment and its recipe for other sentient beings. So Buddha just completely dedicated his life and his enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. We don't say in Buddhism, like Christians say, Jesus died for us. We don't say that. No, he didn't. Buddha got enlightened for us. Yeah, it's a very different story. Buddha got enlightened for us. And his enlightenment is a constantly inspiring object and a subject of our inspiration. He didn't say he will rescue us. He said, you too have the same potential as I once did, and you realize. So therefore, power is given to us. Those who actually know that, therefore see how rare an example a human being it is. From then till now, there hasn't been a second Buddha, and there won't be another one. There will be many disciples who are practicing on different levels, but one to become immaculate as a fully enlightened Shakyamuni Buddha, walking on the surface of the earth, and with all these incredible qualities which we will discuss next following sessions, there won't be anyone. Because it takes that much time to become enlightened, to manifest in the world. So Buddha is extremely rare, and therefore Buddha is a gem. To have the Buddha, if you know the Buddha and have really become drawn and inspired by his excellent qualities, then you have more likelihood of taking refuge in the Buddha than schools, than robes, than status, than kind of status or fame and reputations of people. Buddha never said take refuge in people, let alone schools, traditions, robes, and these things. Yet most people are only worshipping those. They're worshipping robes, they're worshipping status and names of people. They are not looking into the Buddha. They are not trying to find the Buddha in the Buddha and the Dharma in the Dharma. They're only trying to worship people and status and that. That's not refuge object. That's why it's bound to have disappointment. But those who have refuge in the Triple Gem, they never get their faith so wonky. Because they're not putting faith in people or institution or color or robes or status. That's not refuge object. They're just mundane, worldly kind of status. That's what this world seems to be rely on. So that's why it's important to actually find the refuge in the Dharma. Even Buddha said the real refuge is in the Dharma. Even in the Dharma, in the Dharma, he says not in the scriptural Dharma, but the realization Dharma. So even though you study many years, people say they study 25 years, or they memorize all these things, but that's all intellectual. how much do they realize? How much renunciation they actually have? How much commitment they actually have? These comes from realization of the Dharma. So those with the realization of Dharma is much rarer than those who have scriptural knowledge. So that shows that one who has no realization of Dharma do not really have the refuge in the Dharma. They rely on words, Buddha said, don't rely on the person, but the Dharma. And then he says, also that when you rely on Dharma, don't rely on the words, but rely on the meanings. Yeah, most people are not going after the meanings. They only rely on the words. And even the meaning of the they just think to understand. They have interpreted meaning and ultimate meaning. So when a person actually who has this comprehensive understanding of what constitutes a person who have refuge in the Triple Gem, is firstly we need to cultivate the qualities that to become a suitable vessel that actually can comprehend what a person, what refuge objects are, why precious the Buddha is like a gem, why precious the Dharma is like a gem, how precious the Sangha is like a gem, why rare the Buddha is, how rare the Dharma is, how rare the Sangha is, because Sangha is very, very rare. We're talking about exalted Sangha like Arhats and Bodhisattvas. Even ordinary Sangha is very rare. Very few people wanted to become ordained. Very few these days. If they want to ordain, only for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, go for a novitiate ceremony in Malaysia or Thailand, and then just for during a winter break, and then come back and go back and wear the ties and go back to their business. That is not really. That's better than nothing at all, but that's not really renunciation. That's just a little tourist trip, one can do. So that shows how rare it is to actually the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha are to know. Much even so rarer are those who understand and have the emotional causes for finding refuge in the Triple Gem. Because even if they show some sense of renunciation, they're more aversive to samsara. They have aversion to samsara is not renunciation. Renunciation is that what is the constitution, what constitutes samsara. So you rather renounce the cause of samsara than samsara. Samsara itself is quite beautiful. Look at the mountains, lakes, the beaches, rivers, and gardens, and bush, and roads, and all the places. Very beautiful. Don't call them shortcomings of samsara. They've got a beautiful nature, beautiful country. So why is the shortcoming of samsara is the cause of our attachment to them, our aversion, or we fight over things, and these are what called shortcomings of samsara. Those who have true renunciation from samsara, which is the cause of samsara, is very, very few. Most people are leaving something out of aversion. They don't want nothing to do with it. So then they shave, or then they so those who actually have renunciation and go for refuge is very, very rare. During Buddha's time, even then the number weren't that great. It may have empty few cities or towns because everybody become, but then how long has it lasted? No, it hasn't lasted. And so that's why it's very rare to see the existence of the Triple Gem readily available everywhere. More so are those who have actual refuge in the Triple Gem. Their refuge is in the culture. Their refuge is in some other things because of the nature of what it is. Because the reason why we talk about the rarity of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and rarity of genuine Buddhists, rarity of who really have realization of the qualities of the Triple Gem, and not practicing culture Buddhism, most people are practicing culture Buddhism. And they can't accept people can do the prayers in other languages. They want in their own languages. And they even argue that Buddha only taught in one language. And they really They really are denigrating Buddha by saying that, because they didn't know any qualities of Buddha. Buddha can teach and read in all languages simultaneously and teach to suit every sentient being, every human being in over 7,000 languages in the world today. He could teach that. That is Buddha's actual power and quality. But yet all those people who think they're Buddhists, they think no, they say Buddha only taught in Pali, Buddha only taught in Sanskrit. So you can see how many actually know the Buddha's wisdom and quality. They don't. They think Buddha only spoke in one dialect. Can you believe it? And they think that they don't want to look at the text in other languages because they think the Buddha only spoke their dialect and that's it. And same goes with Buddha's sculpture. Some people only wanted to see the Buddha, and the Thai Buddhas are only ones, others not, and vice versa, That shows how few people actually know the Buddha's Rupakaya and Dharmakaya and Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya. They actually have one structure of the Buddha image. But those who really truly know the Buddha, every single Buddha images that are made out of clay or in whatever Burmese style or even Gandhara style, which no longer Buddhists practice, like the old Pakistan, incredible. Every single Buddha statue is incredible objects of veneration for a genuine person who has refuge in the Buddha. They will not discriminate the cultural aspect of it, linguistic background. Why? Because they know the qualities of Buddha. So that's why Nagarjuna said when he wrote a letter to the king Gautamiputra that just as the image that are made out of clay or the wood are not disregarded because of the material, but because what it is who represent. Likewise, my writing, because my composition may not be so perfect, but the content being Dharma, please do not disregard my writing. So like that, we who really know the Buddha will not discriminate between Buddhist sculptures or Buddhist languages or Buddhist tradition or Buddhist robes. You couldn't believe how a lot of Buddhist meetings are completely biased. They don't have this kind of they don't want to invite some other lineages, other traditions. Why? They don't really know they don't appreciate that Sangha, the history of that culture, how many hundreds of years they practice. And they only wanted to narrow-mindedly look at their own school and tradition. This shows that the reason is because it's very rare that people actually know the Triple Gem and their qualities, let alone having refuge in them authentically. Why? Because it's a gem, it's very few who has an actual refuge. Most people are just superficial level, and a lot of people will queue up when there are some high Lama come. Everybody want to have the hair cut. Everybody want to receive the empowerment. But then actually they don't want to do any of the practices. They don't want to do any of that after that. So what are they? They're just worshipping. They just wanted their hair touched by that scissor, that magic scissor of the teacher. What are they following? They're only following some mystical kind of experience that some Tibetan Lamas have. They actually have no understanding what constitutes refuge. So it's very important that the refuge is understood when we wanted to when we wanted to universalize Buddhism, and therefore do not discriminate between different schools and traditions and lineages, vehicles, and we try to universalize how wonderful it is to see so many people, so many cultural, linguistic background, but they all have the refuge in the same Triple Gem, same Dharma. And when you have that, it just makes you feel so broad-minded, so open-minded, and not stay stuck in these narrow little situations. So that's why it's very important for us to know that the etymology of the word Triratna is gem. So gems are rare, and when you have them, they are immaculate. They give you power. They are beautiful ornament to your possession. It makes you sublime, and it will ever remain valuable and precious. So that's why the two verses in Asanga's Uttara-tantra states these 6 qualities, why it is gem, the rarity of precious gem. And likewise, like gems are very rare and have these qualities, but wait until you find the gem of the Dharma, gem of the Buddha, gem of Sangha. They're even much more rarer, because all the precious gems you can go buy in shops. You just go somewhere, you can just swipe the card. You don't even need cash these days. You just swipe the card, and it's a piece of card. It's so easy to get. You straight away have gold bar and go to Sydney. They actually sell you gold. They sell you gold and they'll keep the gold for you. Because they're too precious to give it to you and you can't look after them. Now, this gem is not going to be kept by the seller. This gem is going to make you feel the owner and make you feel immaculate, make you feel ornamented or beautified, have the power not to suffer, and have freedom from affliction, and therefore such a great rare find, the gem. You will find the actual all your difficulties becomes cause of your growth and liberation. And so that's why we want to talk in detail about the qualities of each of the three objects of refuge. So the more familiar we are of the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha and their qualities, that much it will authenticate our refuge in the Triple Gem. And having refuge in the Triple Gem is inconceivably best happen. All the other teachings, lineages, practices you have, they're precious because they're gem, because they're Dharma, because taught by the Buddha, because you have the living Sangha that made this teaching to be delivered into our hands. So we must be grateful to our past generation Sangha and generation before that, and generation before that. We call a succession of lineages. That's why we are so grateful to our lineage masters, because they have put so much effort to keep this precious gem passed down through so much that therefore makes our life otherwise covered in dirt. We are now washed all the time. We're looking cleaner and cleaner, and we feel lighter and lighter and brighter, and we feel beautified by having refuge in the Triple Gem. When you have refuge in the Triple Gem, you're much kinder to sentient beings. Otherwise, sentient beings are a pain in the neck. But when you have refuge, every sentient being is a cause for you to practice the very Dharma. And that is compassion, that is forgiveness, that is tolerance, that is patience, that is understanding. And all of that comes from this gem that when you use it, it doesn't exhaust, but it increases. So with this, we will conclude here, everyone. Thank you very much. And I'll do the dedication merits as usual. Thank you very much. Mahayana whatever merit I have begins then as a true Mahayana did courage manju shin as a man to badra de la follow it over the Zab I shall all the mere excellent body jeda teba where where has been bo made freely without generation. Thank you, everyone.